Welcome back to A New Narrative, a series where I simply share nice ideas I come across that invite us to think about how the world could be. This episode will focus on a book called The Age of Low Tech, written by Philippe Bihouix and published in 2020. I can honestly say that this book completely changed the way I think. So this video will be a bit longer as I had trouble cutting to the essentials. It's basically a summary of the book and of the world of low tech that he invites us to create. The book is split into 4 parts. Part 1 is all about the prevailing idea that innovation, research, and technology are the solution to the demise of our societies and planet. You know, we're still finding oil and gas and ecological ways to extract them. We have more renewable energies, clean cars, and green technologies. Unfortunately, the simple truth is that the world is more polluted than ever, and these solutions that were promised will not be enough. Not only will they not be enough, but there's also so many problems that come with them, like the complexity of our modern technologies that make it impossible to recycle their materials that should be recyclable, the availability of metals, the land area that needs to be destroyed to make space for this infrastructure, just to name a few. Not that we shouldn't develop renewable energies or green technology, but we just shouldn't believe that they will be able to replace fossil fuels and allow us to continue living the way we do now. After confirming in part 1 that high technology is not the way to go, he gives us another solution: to reduce as quickly and as drastically as possible the average consumption of resources per person. It's important to realize that this is not a question of choosing between advancing or regressing. It's a choice between regressing voluntarily or involuntarily, because sooner or later the issue of limited resources and climate change will catch up with us. He points out the absurdity of the normalized level of consumption today. Why should we spend time and resources on a huge wind energy program, or to cover acres of land with solar panels in order to light up shopping streets at Christmas, power billboards in streets and flat screens in post offices? He gives many other examples of sacrifices that wouldn't really affect us that much, like only using natural colors in newspapers, brochures, clothes, shoes, furniture, packing, toys, etc., to avoid dyes based on rare metals or synthetic chemicals. We could share or rent things we don't need every day, like electric drills. We could wear more layers instead of heating up our apartments in winter, and he also suggests more heating in public places, like bars, cinemas, libraries, museums, which would also encourage a healthier, more social and culturally stimulating lifestyle. We could also reduce the need for many products by bringing our own empty egg cartons, jars, boxes, bags, etc. to shops, to be filled up with fruit, rice, anything. Disposable packaging could be limited to very specific and actually necessary uses. It sounds like a chore, but imagine if it was normalized. If all shops had convenient systems for using your own containers, then we wouldn't think twice about it. And places like this do exist, they're just in the minority for now. Part 3 tries to give an example of what everyday life could be like in a time of simple technologies. We'd produce quality food that's beneficial to health and reduces the environmental impact of agricultural activities like deforestation, pesticides, etc. Each household could have a few laying hens. We would reduce the consumption of out-of-season products and pay more for quality meat, but eat it much less frequently, if at all. We'd have to abandon our cars, at least at the scale of which we use them, reduce unnecessary travel, use bikes and carpool. And public transport would need to reduce its speed, mass and distance. There's a lot we need to change regarding construction and urban planning. We'd need to reduce the amount of energy consumed by existing buildings. We urgently need to stop destroying and building on the last few natural areas we have. We have to slow down urbanization, and we have to drastically reduce the amount of construction by reusing and refurbishing existing buildings. When it comes to tourism, we'd accept local living conditions and food. We'd share accommodation with local residents or just camp. Something I wasn't aware of before reading this book was that using the internet is really bad for the environment. The functioning of the internet requires huge amount of resources and energy for cables, data centers, and servers. So to continue allowing us to download films and being able to know at any time what's happening around the world, or to search something on Google, the required infrastructure is enormous. Again, we need to evaluate what's necessary. And yeah, this book was written before the explosion of AI and things like ChatGPT. As well as reducing our need and therefore waste in general, we need to compost what we can and redesign what we can't. Just think about how some once durable objects like watches, pens, handkerchiefs have acquired the status of disposable products. One of the main problems of the high-tech world that we're being promised is that more complicated technologies often require scarce and non-renewable resources. They're also more likely to break and require very specialized maintenance and repair. So we have to make products that we actually need more resource efficient, non-polluting, durable, easy repairable or reusable, and easier to recycle. In the fourth and final part of the book, he talks about how we could implement this transition to a low technology world. First of all, it's important to remember that in today's system, what we demand as consumers impacts us as producers. We demand quality, efficiency, and speed all the time for the cheapest price. Therefore, the industry has adapted, giving us what we want, but also leading to unemployment, offshoring and burnouts, and depression as a result of demanding, meaningless jobs. Of course, the first objection that may come to mind regarding this low-tech world is the risk of unemployment. In this world of low-tech, an increase in unemployment would be as a result of the overall reduction in needs and the disappearance of some consumption. But on the other hand, more employment would come from many other aspects of a low-tech world, like a certain demechanization of agriculture, industry and services, the development, appearance or reappearance of maintenance, repair and assistance services. And there could be more people working in the arts, providing more concerts and festivals. And we could even have more free time if we incorporate universal basic income and reduce the gap between the rich and poor. He suggests the idea of each worker in a company taking turns cleaning the toilet, something I can't stop thinking about. According to Bihouix, this necessary change to a more resource-protective society must come from the people. He has no faith in world organizations, as getting almost 200 countries to agree is simply impossible. The transition needs to start from the ground up. He calls us out on knowing that we should do something, but being too scared to make the first move. What baker would dare to stop using paper and plastic bags if other bakeries don't? Which commercial company would dare to stop its advertising spending first? But maybe we should all be setting an example, which could lead to a ripple effect. We need to believe that this transition is desirable, and that it would give us a happier and fairer world. Yes, a world of low-tech will involve the loss of comfort, but we also need to understand all that we've given up in exchange. Think of cars. If we get rid of them, we'll be able to hear the birds singing, and if we stop pesticides and unnecessary night lighting, fireflies and glowworms might return. A reduction in material consumption could quickly make it possible to rediscover the many simple, poetic, philosophical joys of a revitalized nature that has regained its rightful place, while the reduction in stress and working time would make it possible to develop many cultural or leisure activities such as shows, theatre, music, gardening, or yoga. Our old planet is tired, but it has seen other challenges, and we may be surprised by its ability to recover as soon as we start to reverse current trends. It's only waiting for us to take the first step. We must accept that we cannot continue to live as we do without completely destroying humanity and our planet. People, forests, oceans, soils, rivers, both at home and on the other side of the planet, are bending under the pressure of our expensive lives. Let us prefer productive activities, concrete things, earth, stone, simple pleasures. Let's be brave, be pioneers, to question our needs. Let's fight against land development, soil contamination, urban sprawl. Let us resist all development that makes the system more complex, replacing humans with machines. Let us convince ourselves that we deserve a much more charming world and a pleasant world, a more united and joyful society, a peaceful civilization, respectful of nature and technically sustainable. So, that concludes my summary of the book. I want to highlight that it's a summary, so there's a lot of justification missing. But it shows this new narrative that rejects mindless technological advancement and portrays a wonderful world where a sense of community would thrive and we'd all be more in touch with nature and less stuck in our heads. Again, of course, it sounds naive to say it like that, like it's simple. But the fact is that we can't continue to consume the way we do. And this book shows the good sides of that deconsumption, how it can be achieved, and gives us a kick up the arse to bring that world of low-tech lovingly into being.